All right, guys, we are now being joined by a man who is having a pretty amazing few weeks. First, he successfully led Chris Cyborg to make an impactful UFC debut at UFC 198, and now just a few weeks later, he led Michael Bisping to become the UFC middleweight champion of the world. Just a few hours ago, UFC 199, his stock is seriously at an all-time high, and he's kind enough to spare us a few minutes. Jason Parillo, welcome back to the show, man. Thank you so much for taking the time at what must be a crazy time for you.
What's happening, fellas? How are you?
Oh, well, very well. Now that we're speaking to you, Jason, let's get right into it. Take us into the vibe right now. Your post-fight after a huge win for Michael Bisping. What's going on right now? What's happening?
Oh, it's chaos. Everybody, we're just all having it. We're ecstatic. Obviously, Michael's been working on this for 10 years. Yeah, he's been working on his whole life, really, at the end of the day. But 10 years he's been with the company. He's been plugging away, searching for that world title shot, which kept eluding him because, he's had some ups and downs. But at the end of the day, I believe other guys have been in position to fight for a title, when they maybe not quite deserved it. But, Mike's been plugging away for a long time now, and it was a very storybook, Cinderella story that he had tonight. It was just a really amazing win.
I mean, yeah, it was a crazy moment. I'm just curious. I want to ask you, Jason, because Michael Bisping, it's impossible to deny that he deserved this shot and to win the title. But given timing, were you ever, at any point, did you doubt that it would happen? In all honesty, were you ever looking at it like, you know what, given timing, go on.
I'm going to be as honest. I'm honest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a coach. You hear coaches, you hear fighters. They run their mouth. I knew this was going to happen. I had no doubts in my mind. Honestly, I didn't. I believed in Mike on this. I knew that where we have gone, not only physically but psychologically over the last, 5 years or whatever, he's gone leaps and bounds, between the Talas fight and the Anderson Silva fight. We really peaked on what we were trying to establish with him and his game and his mentality. And everything just really lined up for this fight. It really did. I mean, as we know, Luke Rockhold is, beat Mike before. He stopped him, and facing a guy that had stopped you, in a 5-round fight, he stopped him in 2 rounds. A lot of time in any of the fight organizations, it's tough to beat a guy that's beat you before. Not just physically, but psychologically, you have a lot of doubts going into it. Mike was positive and believed in himself. I was positive and believed in him. His family did. His management did. All the other coaches did. We really had a strong belief in Mike on this fight. And the fact that he beat Anderson Silva, I know as a coach, and you hear me talk about the mindset and the psychological game of it all, it's very valuable and it's very important. It's not bullshit. It's the truth. At the end of the day, I knew Mike's mind was in the place that it needed to be for this fight, regardless of filming a movie and only having a 2 weeks notice. I also know with Mike, and I said it to you guys, Mike is firing as hard on the first day as he is the last day. And I knew physically and condition-wise we weren't going to have a problem. And knowing where Mike's mind was and where Mike's mind is, I knew we were going to win this fight. I really did. Mm-hmm. And I knew, hey, by the way, guys, my submission radio brothers, did I or did I not say left hook? I know I said ass kick. I know I joked with the ass kick, but did I not say the left hook before we hung up that phone call?
Oh, absolutely. You said left hook. So let's talk about this fight because we have to find out what you thought earlier on as it was beginning. Talk us through, before Michael actually hit Luke with those shots and finished the fight, what was going through your head and your analysis of the fight leading into that finish?
My analysis of the fight was Mike was just getting his groove, was getting his rhythm. He was doing exactly. I didn't see a panic in him. I didn't see a tenseness, And if there was, he started right before he knocked him out. He started to kind of pick up his head. You got to relax, Mike. I think Luke hit him with something. Try to do a bullshit question mark kick on him, and we talked about that. We've been preparing for the question mark kick. We're preparing for the high kick with the left leg. We're preparing for the straight left hand. Like we were already defending what we knew was coming to us, And the matter the most important part was the fact that Mike was staying relaxed. When I was staying in the corner is confirming and making sure he was relaxed, staying really relaxed. And I knew, honestly, we watched Luke Rockhold. I watched Luke Rockhold. He brings his right hand down underneath his chest every time he does anything. If he throws a straight left hand, if he throws a high kick, whatever he throws, that left side, throwing a left hook is so exposed to him all day long. And we knew sharpening up Mike's left hook and his hands over the last few years here, I knew with Mike's speed he would get to that beard.
Well, let me ask you something, because a lot of people are talking about this. Do you think Rockhold underestimated Michael Bisping going into this one?
Honestly, I don't think he did. I'm the one that lined up that first sparring session. I did see how that sparring session went. Did Mike, and I don't talk, and you guys know I don't want to talk about the sparring session. Mike got the better of him on the sparring session. So I know Mike has the ability to get the better of him. Mike's mind wasn't where it needed to be in that first fight. And unfortunately, with his experience and his confidence that he's got over his last few wins, he was able to put it all into play and be successful. Do I think he underestimated him? I think there's a handful of people. I think people do underestimate Michael Bisping quite a bit. And fortunately for this situation, winning a world title, I feel like they probably should become a believer in Michael Bisping at this point, because he's been around here as long, if not longer, than most people in this game. He's got the most significant strikes in this game. He's got the most wins in middleweight history, and now he's a world champion. So, sure, Luke could have underestimated, but I don't think he did. I think he really was confident. I think he was going in there to fight a tough fight with Weidman. I think he was in the top shape of his life. And I think that he thought, he said it best. He knew that Mike would cause him a little bit more troubles on his feet, and he thought he can go toe-to-toe with it, and he found out that he couldn't. So here we are. Michael Bisping's the world champion.
I want to get your thoughts, Jason, on what you think is next for Michael. I mean, there's a few names that stand out, like Weidman, potentially Jacare, but the UFC have been doing a lot of rematches, and obviously rivalries drive big pay-per-views, big fights. Do you think in any way a rematch makes sense? Do you think it's deserved?
Yeah. Hey, look it. I knew when Michael called me, asking me. He called me. He called me before he even shot his message and text to Dana and Lorenzo or whoever to say, hey, I want this fight. He called me up first, and we talked about it. And we knew, and I told you guys this before, we knew we're not sure if we're going to get another shot. Why are we not going to get another shot? What happens? Let's say Weidman wins. He ends up having a rubber match with Weidman. There's so many different avenues, obviously, that we'd have to go down in order to get that fight. But now the roles reverse here. Weidman might have to wait. Weidman might have to wait because he never beat Luke Rockhold. We beat Luke Rockhold. Michael Bisping knocked out Luke Rockhold. And fair enough to Luke Rockhold. Rockhold got a submission victory over Mike. So in all reality, it makes more sense, to go that direction. I would love to see a rematch. I think it's fair enough. They can go at it again. Right now I'm in the hype of the victory. So, and in the hype of the victory of my fighter. So I think to myself, Mike will take on anybody at this point. And when you're world champion and Mike's a world champion, Mike never ducked a guy before he won the world title. Mike will never duck a guy after he won the world title. So at the end of the day, does a rematch make sense? It could, but in all reality, you never know what's going to happen in this. You know how it is. You guys are as professional about talking about this stuff as I am. But at the end of the day, will it happen? It always depends on the financial situation with the people that run the business of this whole sport.
Okay, well, you just mentioned it before. Michael Bisping is the world champion. I mean, you have been with him through the highs, through the lows, through periods where it must have seemed like it was never going to happen, to periods like recently where he beat Anderson Silva. Talk to us here, Jason. What does this mean? What goes through your head when you see him with that belt? I mean, it's very recent. It's very fresh.
I'm going to be honest with you. as a coach, and coaches usually it's a thankless position, I should say. This is my favorite win. It's just, it was so easy. I mean, it wasn't easy, but it just, Mike's determination. Mike, as a coach, you want to, hey, we all want that. I got a fighter by the name of Chris Cyborg that, is going to be favored going into the most of her fights. I don't know if I'll have a time where we're going to go in a fight with Chris Cyborg where we're the underdog. Michael Bisping, 90% of the fights that we go into, he's the underdog in the fight. He really is, and he continues to win. He continues to pluck away. There's stuff about just human beings in general that not everybody has. And as a fighter, Michael, has an incredible mind. He has an incredible spirit. He has incredible heart, obviously, same thing, spirit. And, he's got the physical determination to do it. He's not the best athlete in the world. He's really not. But Michael Bisping, when he came to me, I think he was on a two losses in a row, and he was really conflicted. He had just moved out to California from London, and was a little wayward. Was just wondering what direction he was going to go. He knew that he was going to continue to fight and continue to plug along and try to win this world title, or win a world title, just be the best he could, and he didn't know a lot of people in California. He had some friends, that brought him out here and that he was connected with, and that's when we connected. And I remember thinking to myself, you do something with a guy that's got all the natural ability in the world, and not that Mike doesn't have all the natural ability in the world, but you know what? When you're quick thinking and you got a brain like Michael Bisping, it tends to get the best of you. And I watched a guy that got the best of himself quite a bit, leading up to our connection. And I knew. One of my coaches says it's one thing to take an A student and make him an A student, and take a C student and make him an A student. It's a whole different animal. Now, I'm not saying Michael Bisping's a C student, and that's not why. And I'm mumbling a little bit to you guys right now because I don't want it to be put in the press as if I'm calling him a C student because Michael's my man and I don't want him to be offended by anything I say. But at the end of the day, I knew what I had in front of me was it was a mountain to climb. But I knew the man that I was talking to and communicating with and getting to know, I knew that he had more heart than any fighter I've ever met in my life. And I knew that. And I knew that if he can get his mind right and close the holes in his physical game, which I can help him with both physically and mentally, I knew if we could get connected with that, we would win this world title. And I promise you guys, that's the truth.
All right, well, now we're going to ask, as we let you go, Jason, we know it's crazy busy there, so as we let you go, the most important question, how are you guys celebrating tonight? What's on the agenda tonight?
I got about 16 beers. I've been pulling beers the entire time we're having this conversation.
Oh, wow, nice.
We're at the hotel right now. I'm probably a little buzzed, too, with this conversation, so I apologize if I'm mumbling too much. But at the end of the day, we're going to have just a great time. I'll tell you this. I'll leave you with this. Every time I'm in one of these big events with these big high-profile fighters, there's always a group of hang-outers that hang out. There's always hang-outers. Every fighter. Bisping actually does not have hang-outers. He has family and friends with him. But there's a lot of fighters that have a lot of hang-outers, and they're always wondering, where's the party going to be after the fight? And I always tell them this. We win the fight, we could party at 7-Eleven and have the best fucking time of our life. It doesn't matter where we party. Mm-hmm. Where we're at is the party. When you win a fight, there's not a greater high on the planet than winning a fight, and especially a world title. A world title is the most special fight you can win, and there's not a bigger high that you can get than that. So we can drink beers in the streets, or we can drink beers at a party. Either way, we're all going to just hang out with the friends and family and just have a good time and celebrate and just be proud of Mike.
We know Mike likes to party. We've seen him here in Australia after his, both wins and losses. Just curious, how many beers do you think Mike's had so far already?
Mike will walk a straight line after about 42 beers. Starting around 50, he might start getting a little sideways.
Well, there you go. There's that natural athletic ability. Jason, thank you so much for coming on our show. Please congratulate Mike for us. Guys, he is Jason Parillo, and you'd be stupid not to go to him for advice. He is one of the top striking coaches now in the game with these big wins back to back. And make sure you check him out at ParilloBoxing.com and get a hold of him. He is hot right now, as they would say in Zoolander, and we appreciate the time, Jason. Enjoy your celebration.
Hey, left hook, fellas. Left hook, baby. I'll talk to you guys. Hey, call me again. I love talking to you guys. You're great dudes.
Awesome. We'll do it again soon, Jason. Thank you so much for the time, man. Go enjoy your night. Congrats.
All right. Cheers. All right. Bye.